a sensational one. Well, indeed, Bernard Dolan has been flying again this year because he was the fastest Irish qualifier in practice last night in this very international field. 8 nations are represented here at Kirkistown this weekend for Ireland's first ever round of the RAC Championship. And indeed, Formula Ford and the RAC Championship now recognised worldwide as a very good starting point for that long and difficult road to Formula One. If you look at a Grand Prix grid today, you will see many people who have made it through from Formula Ford. People like Senna and indeed Mansell, Terry Boutsen, just to name 3 of them. And one that is on his way there is the Irish driver Martin Donnelly, who started racing Formula Ford here at Kirkistown and now is quite a star in England in Formula 3. Martin, this piece of tarmac must be very familiar to you.
Yes, it's nice to be back home on home ground again. It brings back many memories for me, especially my days here in 1600.
Now, they weren't all that easy at times, I can seem to remember.
Now, we had a few spills, especially down here at the first corner of Colonial. I rolled the car once at about 140 miles an hour and minus engine and gearbox at the end, so that was an expensive memory.
Well, now, you never had an international field like we have today to contend with, and no doubt in the next step up the ladder being Formula 3 where you are, some of these gentlemen will be aspiring there, I would say, very shortly.
Yes, I think like the present crop of drivers in Formula 3, Eddie Irvine, who won here last year, he came straight from Formula Ford into Formula 3. And I would say that anybody from the first 3 rows of the grid will be in Formula 3 next year in England.
Well, enjoy your day, Martin. You're very welcome back here at Kirkistown. You can sit back and relax today and watch the action. So after 7 rounds of the championship, Derek Higgins of the Works Van Diemen leads with 80 points. 9 points behind him and closing Richard Dean in the Works Swift. Then this Italian, Sospiri, who's been sensationally quick since he arrived in England. 4th equal, we've got Chavez and Cordova. And then in 6th equal place, Light de Faria and our own Jonathan McGall. So let's take a close look at some of those faces that could be the champions of tomorrow. Derek Higgins, 24 years old, born in Dublin and lives in Slough and drives the Works Van Diemen and leads the RAC Championship. Jose Cordova, 23-year-old from Brazil. Joseph is the Works Reynard driver and, like the others, has a terrific karting background. Vincenzo Sospiri, the 21-year-old Italian and former world karting champion, possibly the hottest property of them all. Pedro Chavez, 23 years old, from Portugal, 4th at the championship and from a family that's absolutely steeped in motorsport. Richard Dean, son of Tony Dean, a great racing driver in the 60s and 70s, and the Works Swift driver. Finn Murray, 23 years old, from Sligo, a home-based amateur who drives the Works home-built Crosley. And Jonathan McGall, also in the home-built Mondial car from Northern Ireland, who has been making a great impression in England this year. Well, one of the most international grids we've ever seen at Kirkistown. Derek Higgins on pole position from England. Alongside him, Jose Cordova from Brazil. Then Vincenti Sospiri, I should say, from Italy, in the 2nd row of the grid. Then we have from Portugal, Pedro Light de Faria. On the 3rd row, another Portuguese, Pedro Chavez. And then the fastest of the Irish drivers, Bernard Dolan, in 6th place. Very creditable indeed. Skipping further down the grid, we notice that Finn Murray, the locally based driver, is in 8th quickest place. And then Jonathan McGall, who will be rather disappointed to be back in 11th place on the grid. And looking right to the very back, we have Satoru Orita, who is way back there in 17th place. A very sad situation indeed, as he and Alan McGarry tangled. Here we go. And the superb start. Cordova has the start. He's off the line the quickest. And following him through, it looks like Faria. Faria possibly in 2nd place. And Higgins, a very bad start, in 3rd. Yes, number 4, Pedro Light de Faria. And look at this, coming down the inside. It's one of the Swifts. But they've all miraculously survived through that one, and this is good news for good television, because we really had one casualty. That's amazing. Only one. It looked like it could be Mike Woodside. No, it's number 7. In fact, it's Brian McMonigal. But look at this. We're through the Budweiser complex for the first time. It's Cordova.
Higgins is
Cordova leading the bunch. Higgins in third place. Arnie, fraud stuff indeed.
A miracle they all got round out onto the back straight. I would say Higgins now is supposed to have this really superb engine. As they come down into the hairpin, he's still trying to get past the second place man. They turn in now, he has a chance. He's the inside line, he's come up past the start and finish. Has he got all this horsepower people talk about? Doesn't look like it at the moment. As they come down towards Dedder, he's really snapping on the tail.
So it's Cordova, and then Faria in second place, then Higgins in third. And Higgins, as you say, crawling all over the Van Diemen. It's Van Diemen is second and third place, but of course it is the Reynard that's leading at the moment.
And we've seen this Reynard chassis so dominant in 2000 as well this year, Formula 3 and 3 litre as well, and now here we have it leading the 1600 RAC Championship round at Kirkistown. And Higgins is really pushing now, really looking for a way past before he gets boxed in.
And there's another danger man, Richard Dean in the Swift, who lies second in the championship, really pulling these lot in. And right behind him we've got Sospiri, the dynamite Italian. So all the top men are out there. We're trying to look down the grid to see where our top Irish person is. There's number 10. That's
and Higgins
Cordova.
has made it up the inside. He's made it into second place under braking as they go out of the hairpin. It's 3 abreast for third place as they go down towards the start and finish. Real tough stuff. Higgins fighting tooth and nail to keep second, but I don't think he's going to do it as they go through Dedders.
And as in practice, Bernard Dolan is the leading Irish contender back in 7th place. But there's Higgins in second, and look at this. Is that Richard Dean? It looks like it, diving down into third. Tremendous racing as we expected. And really Faria, who had a very serious accident in practice, and we've had a little touch right at the very back. We have a wheel off a car.
Andrew Macaulay on the grass on 3 wheels, I'm afraid. Obviously had a slight coming together with.
And Mike Woodside was the other man involved. There's Mike Woodside just getting out of his car, and Andrew Macaulay out of it. But they're both perfectly all right as we go back to this fabulous battle up front. Cordova with Higgins under huge pressure now.
Higgins really making an effort as they go down into the hairpin. He's in an ideal position to have a go at braking, and how they go again under braking. Higgins looking at the outside line, unlikely to get past that way. Now he switches to the inside. Has he got the power to make it? A huge battle going on for third behind these two, only a whisker behind them. Higgins is making a massive effort as they come up towards Dedders. Now he's inside the slipstream. Can he pull out and nip past as he go down into Colonial 1?
So there's the battle for first and second. It's Richard Dean in third. Suspiria's challenging number 21 in 4th place. And then we have the man Faria, who is right up there on the second row of the grid and had been in second place, is dropping back places. But Higgins is the danger man.
And this is what Higgins didn't want. The second and the 3rd and 4th place men behind them are catching the leading bunch. And as they come up towards the chicane now, it's going to be a bigger bunch out onto the back straight. The slipstreaming man, who is third, will have the best chance to nip past into the lead. And as they come out onto the straight, Higgins isn't close enough to do anything about the leader. He is going to have to make up a gap. But the other 2 cars are pulled out to the right as they go down into the hairpin. Clouds of dust, people diving for lines all over the place.
Richard Dean, that is. Suspiri, who was
Higgins has made it into the lead under braking. Can he hold it as he come out of the hairpin? He has managed to stay in front, and as he come up past the start and finish, wheel banging for third place. Things getting very fraught now. Higgins on the inside as he goes to Dedders. This is where it really all pays to be brave.
So it's Higgins and then Cordova. And look at that, there's not much space there. And look at Richard Dean. Dean coming up now. And really closing there. Suspiri, the real top men in the RAC Championship are all there. Then Faria, I think it is, yes, in the mogul car. And it's absolutely nail-biting stuff. What a pity we don't have one of our Irish contingent up in amongst them. We're still keeping an eye on that situation. And I still think it's Bernard Dolan, though, who's in touch. Then you can see the little gap just behind them.
Now, amazingly enough, Higgins has managed to establish a car length. In the middle of all that fighting and dashing, he has actually managed to pull a car length out. Now, that is pretty amazing. And he did that through a series of corners. As they go down into the hairpin now, they're going to under fierce pressure again to get past Higgins, and he's having another, clouds of smoke straight on. Everything happening. 3 abreast for second place, and now Higgins has got what he wants. He has got a fight behind him, and some fight.
Suspiri's up into second. Suspiri came out. There's Dean, and there's Cordova trying to get back, and we still have Faria there. And Jonathan McGall, we believe, is up into about 6th or 7th places. And so he's really come from 11th on the grid up to about 7th.
And is Higgins going to do it now? Now he has a little bit of peace, well, in Formula 4 terms, and it may be possible for him to inch away here while this world war goes on behind him. As he goes through Fisherman's, he is holding his little lead steady. Dean is attacking again as they go up towards the chicane. Out onto the back straight will tell. Last time it was real fury down into the hairpin. And there's a little bit more of a gap.
There's Jonathan McGall just going through the chicane at the moment, and there is Michael Edgar doing superbly well, or is it Bernard Dolan? Probably Bernard Dolan. But here we are, and look on the outside, Suspiri, the man they're all talking about, the man who came straight from karting into Formula 4, won his first ever race in England, and this is the man that undoubtedly Higgins dreads right in his gearbox at the moment. And Suspiri going for the inside line, he must get through. Oh, superb. Suspiri, now just how quick is this Italian? We are about to find out. The car's all over the place. He throws it round with gay abandon. Derek Higgins, with all the pressure on him, the #1 drive in the Van Diemen team, the team that's done the business in Formula 4 for the last goodness how many years. And there's Dean in third place, right behind him. It's superb stuff, and these are the first three, remember, not in this order though, in the championship. Suspiri lies third in the championship, Higgins lies first, and Dean lies second.
And Dean is now trying to get past Higgins on the outside. Suspiri has sussed this out, he's staying very wide to get a quick exit from the hairpin. The other two are diving down the inside. Oh, Higgins under fierce pressure. And Dean has done it, he's got up the inside. Can he stay in front? Suspiri really used his head there, got a perfect line out of the hairpin and drew away about 4 car lengths. And now Richard Dean is the man in second place. Can he do anything to catch him? Again, Higgins under fierce pressure as they go down into Colonial 1.
And there's Cordova now coming to attack Higgins. Cordova there in fourth place. And let me just give you the order. It's Suspiri, Higgins, Dean, Cordova, Chavez, and then Jonathan McGall in sixth place. And of course Dean now up into second place. There's Richard Dean right up over the curves. They're really trying.
These guys only know one way to drive, and that's absolutely pedal to the metal. And Dean is out on the middle of a huge bunch as they get out onto the back straight. Has Suspiri got enough of a lead to make himself? And here's the Irish contingent coming through. Dolan in the lead there, Michael Edgar about 2 places behind.
And Jonathan McGall is beginning to draft his way up into this group, and Cordova goes for an absolute suicide job around the outside. It couldn't work, and it didn't. So Cordova really trying to get 2 places in this company. He should learn that lesson by now. So the Brazilian going clean mad there, but he hasn't given up. He's now trying to get Higgins on the inside, but Higgins chops across the nose of the other Van Diemen. And look at the way the Swift are down the inside. Oh, Richard Dean, a bad mistake, left the door open, as they say in motor racing terms.
Yes, a classic case. He left it open by probably a quarter of an inch. And of course, Higgins stuck a car in that small gap. At this class of racing, any gap, no matter how small, is too big. And Suspiri has definitely got his head down now. He's really trying. And here we have De Ferrer, and unfortunately, looks like he's had a little quick spin. He's got away again, all right.
And that's a shame, because Ferreira was a late entry. He's from Brazil. He was last year, and the suspension's all wrong. The suspension's all wrong. But there's Bernard Dolan, the second Irish placement, and right behind him, Finn Murray. So that's good news also. And here is the leader, Suspiri. Vincenzo Suspiri. Get to know that name. It could be one of the big motor racing names of the future. But look at this behind. The 2 or 3 abreast. And it's Richard Dean on the left. And Derek Higgins on the right, and right in their draft behind them, Cordova.
Dean, a huge effort under brakes, manages to get away with it up the inside. Higgins has left the door open exactly the same way as Dean did the last time. The problem is the quick line means going in a little bit wide, and of course as soon as you do that, somebody tears up the inside. This huge fight, of course, is letting Suspiri really get his head down and put in some quick laps. And Dean again under fierce pressure as he goes up towards the chicane. If Suspiri goes through with a nice little lead, Dean has absolutely no lead over Higgins as he goes on for the straight. Can Higgins have a chance of outbreaking him down into the hairpin?
And Chavez has moved up into 5th place. We've just learned they've completed 9 laps of this 20-lap race, and the anticipation in Ireland for this race was fantastic.
Dean has done it. He's got him under braking. Higgins around the outsides. McCall hanging on there. He's hauled himself up from the bunch behind.
So as I was saying, the anticipation in Ireland was tremendous for this race. Cordova now trying to get back into the picture, the third of those cars. Higgins beginning to get a little bit frustrated, and because you can only see that lighter blue Van Diemen of Suspiria disappearing away into the distance. And this is, of course, the battle for second place. It's 2.8 seconds between first and second. 2.8 seconds and a disappearing 2.8 seconds. Richard Dean, Higgins here, Cordova, and they've moved out a little gap between the next one.
And as they come through here at the moment, Dean again is, it's a little tiny gap. Higgins has fallen back into Cordova's clutches.
Right, so let's just recap the situation, because Cordova's trying to get up into third place. Higgins is on the right place, though. He's down the inside into the hairpin. That's Chavez. There's Chavez, I should say. There's Jonathan McGall, number 5, and he's in 6th place. 6th overall, so he's in the points at the moment. And here, once again, they fan out like a bomb burst as they come down through Debtors. And Cordova has outwitted Higgins. Cordova's up into 3rd place and now chasing Dean. Don't forget, it's Suspiria still out front, but naturally we're looking at this tremendous battle. And indeed, another dogfight just a few places behind them as well. So the spectators here at Kirkistown getting tremendous value for money. There we have Faria, and there we have the closing Jonathan McGall. So Jonathan McGall is closing on the former Portuguese champion, and there is the current Kirkistown champion. He won the championship here last year, so he's the current STB champion. And incidentally, Carcraft giving an extra £100 to the fastest lap here this afternoon. And look at this is Dean, Cordova, Higgins, all battling away for second place, and Suspiria is that little speck you see in the distance.
Over the start and finish line, it could be anybody into Colonial 1 or nobody the way these guys are going. And at the moment, Dean has got it, but wheel over the curb, very brave stuff. And Dean hasn't given up, he's holding the inside line as he goes down to Colonial 1. He's not going to let him pass, and as it turn in, he has it.
And very interesting to see, because there's Faria. Faria is up, or is that Chavez? I think that's Chavez in Mathieu's car. So the Mathieu's Rose really on the boil here at the moment, and he's demoted Higgins. So Higgins falling right out of the major point-scoring situation. Remember, he's only 9 points ahead of Richard Dean, who's at the moment in second place. And Dean will be very pleased with this situation. And there is Jonathan McGall. So the Irishman in the Irish Mondial very much in contention, but not with Suspiria, just slightly locking the front wheel there. Suspiria pulling away is now 3.5 seconds ahead of this dogfight behind him. Led at the moment, and that is a dangerous thing to say, by Richard Dean.
Yes, this could change at any second. Dean happens to be in front just at this particular second, but it could change instantly. And again through Debtors to abreast. Really tiptoey stuff as they go down into Colonial 1. And I'm afraid we've had another little whoopsie here, number 21. 20, I should say.
It's a Kozo, as he's known as Kamikaze, Orita, who's can get right up on the pace, but he's usually a bit inclined to have incidents. He's just had another one. Richard Dean riding the curbs out of Fisherman's. And there is Chavez, the third of those drivers, who's really coming into contention as the laps peel off. Look at Jonathan McGall. Now he's right with Faria, who was, as you remember, second place earlier on in this race. So Jonathan McGall going for 5th place now as they head down into the hairpin, and Dean being challenged to the outside by Cordova. There's Chavez, and there's the man that certainly started this race favourite, Derek Higgins, right back in, what is he now, 5th place. There's the leader, just a snatch of him going through. Cordova challenging on the inside down into Debtors, a dangerous place to do it.
Very hairy, high-speed stuff here as they go down into Colonial 1. And Higgins has made a move. Higgins has made a move. He's got past. He's back up into 4th place. As they go across towards Fisherman's, this lot unfortunately are having such a huge fight. They're letting Suspiria get away, but that's the way it can be. Higgins knows now that he could have and should have established his lead earlier in the race. It's too late. Dean under fierce pressure as they go up into the chicane. Can he hang on to this as they go down towards the hairpin? He's on the curb, stones flying, out onto the straight again, and in a perfect position, and he's out onto the rough stuff.
And Cordova, of course, in the Reynard, remember, in amongst all these Van Diemens. He's on the outside. He's made this rather foolish move there, but he got back in. It's an incredible move. Incredible. That was the Swift, of course. And there's the leader, Suspiria, now over 5 seconds in the lead, and just this dogfight doing exactly what he wanted it to do for him. It's still Richard Dean, and there's Cordova. Look at him. And under braking now, Chavez coming up very hard indeed under braking. And really, as I said earlier on, the anticipation in Ireland for this race has been tremendous, but I don't think in our wildest dreams we expected it to be quite this good. And particularly now with Jonathan McGall beginning to hone in on these lot. He's still in 6th place, just behind this bunch. And there you see it. Dean, Cordova, then Chavez, then there's McGall, the second of those three, just behind Faria. Or Light de Faria, to give him his full title. And there's Suspiria. And Arnie, are we watching a new Ayrton Senna? Are we watching a new world champion, possibly in a couple of years' time? Certainly Suspiria has been highly impressive here today. So Dean, Cordova on the outside this time. And we saw Chavez trying to get through on the inside, and Higgins once again down the inside. He seems to have it under braking. He's taken back that place again. He's done that a couple of times in this race, and he really shouldn't be left any gap there at all. Pedro Chavez will be really regretting that one. So Richard Dean, 24 years old, from Leeds, a car dealer. He won't be thinking about that right now because it's Cordova climbing all over him. There's Jose Cordova, not Jose, because it's short for Joseph. Again, 23 years old, and these are the young lads in motor racing at the moment, on the bottom rung of the motor racing ladder, and Dean's gone off. Dean's gone off, and he nearly took Cordova with him. That's the first major change we've had. It's on the 17th lap. And that means that we've now got a fairly large gap between Suspiria and 2nd place. And that was a very expensive mistake, and Higgins is back up to 2nd. That could have slightly ruined Richard Dean's championship chances.
This is true. Higgins now back into where he wanted to be, and McGall is actually closing up. McGall is catching the slot as well. This could be an even tighter finish as we go towards the last few laps. Higgins now still under fierce pressure. He's been given a chance for 2nd again. He'll not give this up, and we can see McGall now right on the tail of this bunch. He's really driven hard to catch them because he's had to come through back markers in the meantime. The good thing was this lot held each other up, and now they're all together as a long train goes down towards the hairpin.
Right, as we watch the progress of young Jonathan McGall, we're also watching on the lap chart the extraordinary progress, and Higgins is off, they've tangled, Cordova's round, and how did the team got through? Jonathan McGall lost the wheel. Oh, tragedy. McGall lost a wheel. There's carnage, absolute carnage. Higgins is out of it, that's the main thing, and there's a whole bunch just going into it. And there must be carnage at that hairpin. So that really was the big one of the day, and there's poor Jonathan walking away. How sad. He'd been up into 6th place and closing for 5th. He is bitterly disappointed, and who can blame him?
Yes, no fault of Jonathan's, purely taken out by the accident, not his fault at all, nowhere to go.
Suspiria has retired, has he? We need to check that one on the lap chart.
That's Suspiria walking through the pits.
He's off, he's out, he's retired.
Does this mean that Higgins is now leading again an RAC championship round?
Because Higgins' car stranded. This is the new leader, Pedro Chavez, in the Manchus Rose-sponsored Van Diemen, all out on his own. It's lap 18 and disaster is about to hit in the RAC Championship. Higgins trying to go down the inside of Cordova. Touches, there ain't no space. Somehow, Cordova is going to get away with this incident. He half spins his Van Diemen. In fact, he spins round. And there you see Chavez moving through and into the lead. And sadly, Jonathan McGall with no space. And there's Cordova just recovering in the center. And Jonathan McGall limping three-legged off the course on the outside of the hairpin. Now watch this. Higgins, so frustrated at his demise, nearly walks into Richard Dean as he goes across the circuit, and that could have been a terrible tragedy. So frustration for Higgins and the loss of the championship lead. But let's just recuperate, because there's the battle for second place, and that car, of course, still stranded in the middle of the track in a very dangerous position indeed, and obviously getting the yellow flag, so you couldn't overtake. Well, the yellow flags are one thing, but now it's checkered flag time, and that's what awaits Pedro Chavez, who takes his second RAC win and goes through. In fact, he's just gone through the picture there, an absolutely delighted young man from Portugal, from Oporto to be precise. Minoru Tanaka, who has a sensational drive as we see him there, he's come right up into 5th place after starting right at the very back of the grid. So the situation is, Chavez wins, takes maximum points, that's 20. In second place, it's Jose Cordova, who really fought the bit out throughout the 20 laps. Then Pedro Lite de Faria, who comes in third. Richard Dean doing very well in 4th, and that gives him very good news in the championship, as we'll learn in a minute. Then Tanika in 5th. Bernard Dolan, top Irishman, finishing 6th, and Finn Murray, top locally braced driver, finishing 7th. So the position in the RAC Championship after the Kirkistown round is that Richard Dean moves to the head of the pack, 1 point clear of Derek Higgins, who gained nothing here today. Chavez moves up into 3rd place. Sospiri, who sadly didn't finish as we saw, goes home with the consolation of a new lap record at 62.5. and was put out sadly by oil pressure trouble right at the end of the race there. Cordova is 5th in the championship. 6th is De Faria, who gained today, and dropping down to 7th, I'm afraid, Jonathan McGall, a non-finisher. Pedro Chavez, congratulations, but it all really happened on the 18th lap there.
Yes, it's Formula 4. It's normal accidents of Formula 4 races, and this one had 20 laps to do, so all the fight was big one. 20 laps give us time to wait for the opportunity, and Cordova and Derek and Dean also was fighting a lot, and I was waiting to see what I could do in the last 2 laps.
You were expecting it to happen?
Yes, of course. The fight was a big one, and I was waiting because I knew we had 2 laps to do, and I will play my game in the last 2 laps.
Well, when all hell let loose, where were you?
Just behind. Going for the first gear corner down, it's always easy to try to overtake, because with slipstream, the car behind has more speed than the front one, and it's easy to try overtake in the braking. I was just behind, they were fighting in the brakes, and touch wheels and went off.
Well, now that's your second RAC win of the year. It makes the whole championship a bit more of a possibility.
Yes, we have, I think, 7 races to do for RAC Championship, and it's a long way to go. I hope more wins soon.